Hi, welcome back to Analyzing with Grace. I'm Gabby Grace, and today we are talking about foreign cinema, more specifically, like Eastern movies, because it's actually very different than your typical, like, American or Western cinema. What's really the most interesting factor is that they focus more on mood and environment and tone. Like you see your classic American films, they're all about like pizzazz and punch and pow and all of those effects like you see in your action movies, in like adventure, in any kind of, even the like detective films, there's always some sort of like really intense like scene that's going on. I mean, especially in your action adventures and your dystopians, you get a bunch of explosions, you get fights, you get people jumping out of windows, like out off the top of buildings and stuff for like your cool epic landing or falling scene, things like that. Eastern cinema, or at least like foreign cinema in general, because America is not like the whole world. You have to take into consideration the whole entire world of film and cinema that you don't really see very often. And one of the reasons is probably because it's in another language and people don't feel the reason to watch things with subtitles. But I personally love it because it offers a different perspective and you get to see a bunch of different filmmaking techniques, which is honestly really cool. Like I was just saying, they focus more on like your environment and your tone and your mood, and kind of that pushes forward the reason and the message and the theme of the film. So today I'll give my little example is the movie Parasite, which is amazing. It's like a cinematic masterpiece. I'm not gonna spoil. But we're just gonna I'm gonna give you guys the gist of it. So first we have the Kim family, and this film deals a lot with like classism, which I like a lot as like a theme because it doesn't really get discussed as much, but this film definitely takes that into account, and that's one of the big themes that they push forward towards the audience. So we're talking about classism and just perspectives in like life and how people live and how they're treated because of it, because of their like status standing in society. We have the Kim family. They live in like this basement house with like no Wi-Fi. They have to bum off of like neighboring businesses. They used to fold pizza boxes for a living, not for a living, but like to make their money to get by. And they're always put in this like green lighting that makes them look kind of sickly because they're living below the level of the rest of society because they're literally living in a basement below ground level. Their window is a little window that is on like the floor level basically, so you can see out onto the street. And they're not in like a good part of town. They're not really financially stable. There's like a lot of factors that shows that they're on the very lower side class. But the main character, he changes his name to Kevin later in order to fit in. But he has a friend who tutors a wealthier family, and that friend is like going away for I think university, and he says you should tutor this girl in English, and because it'll get you a lot of money because they're a really rich family, and I know you're good, so I'll refer you because they trust me a lot. So he changes his like name, he changes his attire, his sister forges him fake college documents, and he goes to the Park family home where it's very, very different. Instead of like one little window that we get, the entire like house is almost all glass windows. It's just you can see the sun coming in. It's so bright and like white and like crisp, clean, clear, all of those kind of things. Which kind of mirrors it because usually with like rich families, they're not transparent. Like their houses, obviously, but transparency as in you don't really know what they're up to. And with our other family, with our Kim family, we have the little window, but it offers a full on glimpse. We get to see everything into their life and what they're going through and what their situation is, which was very interesting that it's kind of flipped with the visuals, but it has a different meaning. Like the little window gives you the whole big glimpse, and all of the big, bright, clear windows give you very little view into what the family is actually like, just what they present themselves as. And this like crisp, like the whitish, yellowish, like bright light, or like high key lighting, makes them seem like more like angelic and more like high level and less human, honestly. Like with the Kim family, they're more like down to earth, down to the ground kind of. They're underground, but they seem more human because they're gritty and they're real and they're living through real circumstances. Where the Park family, it's kind of questionable of who are they actually? What are they up to? Obviously, like are they human? They're human beings. It's a psychological thriller. It's not going to be anything non-human, but it's of are they human on the inside of like what are their true like mentalities and their viewpoints towards different people, because they are very high level in society. They're very rich. They're like very wealthy and very lucky. So it's kind of a question of like what is really going on behind the scenes in their home when nobody's there. But we have Mrs. Park sitting at their kitchen table with a little like interview scene going on with Kevin and her. And you can kind of see the cameras like propped up on like kind of right by his shoulder. So we're just below eye level with Mrs. Park. And it kind of shows like connection, but not 100% because we're not eye level, we're just not there. So it kind of offers a glimpse as to what he's seeing. He's seeing another human being, but she's at a higher social status and like pay level and everything than he is. So they don't really see eye to eye, but they're still having a human conversation with each other. Which these are kind of the little elements that Eastern cinema likes to highlight. It's these like little details and little moments of lighting and camera placement and color that just add little details to your scenes and to your stories that not all directors would think of to do. I mean, all films are going to do these things. They're all going to happen, and like I kind of contradicting myself. The directors are going to think about these things, but with this kind of cinema, they focus it and they hone it in, and they use less like cameras like focusing on these things for you. They give you the broad environmental like look at it, so that way you can take into account these things for yourself as a viewer. And another thing is like the action. There are serious scenes where they're arguing and everything, like where there's like things are pent up, but there's no like what's the word? There's no like flair. There's no Western cinema flair. There's no like explosions. There's no like big dramatic things. It's dramatic in its own way, of course, but it's not gonna be. It's gonna be from a different kind of standpoint. But all of these things are really important with this kind of cinema, and it's also important to get these different kinds of like perspectives as even as a filmmaker like me, or even just as an audience. It really helps to get these different kinds of just these different kinds of filmmakers from all these different countries and different like nationalities. They're all coming from different places to present their kind of film to you, which is, I keep saying important because it is. It's a very key highlighting fact that you need to do. That's why film festivals are like international instead of, there are probably national ones for each, each respective country in the world, but that's why there's international ones, because they're quite literally all over the world. So that way you can get different films from different people from different countries. So that way representation and visuality is kind of everywhere. And another key thing I want to say about the film without spoiling it, because I would hate to do that, is once Kevin gets his little job, then he gets the I forget, he tutors the sister, and then he gets his sister to pose as like an art therapist for the younger brother, and then they get the mom to replace the maid, and they get the father to replace the driver. So now the whole entire Kim family has kind of they've infiltrated the Park family home, and there's 4 different paychecks that are all going to the same family. And so once they get the money rolling in, they keep talking about how they're going to get a house, like a big fancy one, and they won't be living in a basement anymore. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, so I'm not going to let you know how it ends, but it's really interesting how they're doing all this in this family's home without them even realizing. And then when the family goes camping for the weekend, the four just stay in the house, and no one knows they're related at all. But the four stay in the house without anyone knowing, and they imagine what their life would be like. So it's kind of this family that's living in a basement is getting a glimpse of what it's like to live in this kind of more, it's magnificent to them, this family home. And they say the sister feels more like she belongs there, like she fits in, and just how she could be born without the right like resources. Like if she was born in this Park family's status level, what would she have done with herself differently than if she was born with the Kim's family status and level? So it's kind of like that. Like if you really deserve to be born into a societal status, you should earn your way up to it. And just how these different levels in society and in a community are treated with each other, like how they interact and how they're viewed upon. And that's like the big main theme of this film really tries to communicate, is classism and the effect that it has on different people, and how they see each other, really. But it is definitely a great film to watch. It's a great example of foreign cinema and a great psychological thriller. It really gets in your head, and when certain things happen, because it's very like, you're just watching a film at first and then certain things happen and you go, oh, this is why this is a psychological thriller. It's such a great film. And like I said, it's a great example of everything that I've talked about in this video. And I really hope you enjoyed listening and watching another video of Analyzing with Grace. Thank you so much.